Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today we got Brandon.
Hello.
We're here to talk about games and things.
Yep.
Yep. What's on the agenda today? Let's see.
I
What we
played
got.
some games.
Yeah, you played some games.
One's of secret because I gotta tell you special things about it. So
Okay.
I just put its initials.
And then we also have the first day of Gamescom, so that's exciting.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And some very interesting things happened.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to get started?
Yep.
Okay. Let's get into it. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Is that all you have to talk about? That one thing you have written there?
Just the one thing.
You go first.
Okay. All right. So, what I've been playing, it's new and old. I got both. So I've been playing Famicom Detective Club again. So if you guys have been listening for the last couple of weeks, you know I've been trying to play through it before the new one came out. But then there was a twist, and they're like, "Here's a demo for the new one." So I got to talk about that too. But I did finish up the first one in this time, and I started the second one, so I can speak a bit more of that. And then I've started the third one because now I have the demo, so I can speak about all three of those things. So wrapping up the first one and going to the second one, I can now speak a little bit better about what the differences were between those. Like I remember when we were talking about a little bit ago, I was like, oh yeah, there was some changes to the second game that made it a little bit more playable. I'm like, I couldn't quite remember what it was. So now I can tell you that it's really, they just made it so that it is more, how do I put it? They didn't really change like the actual like UI. Like it still has like the same kind of things that you would do, but they just made it so it doesn't, you don't have to guess as much to progress. That was one thing that is kind of frustrating with the first game. Like there's a couple areas that I think were like bottlenecks where you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know who I should be talking to. There's 3 different places that I can go to and ask 3 different people a multitude of different things. And I'm like, I don't seem to be getting any kind of movement in the right direction. And sometimes that's because it really wants you to ask things in a very specific way. So ways that they kind of address that with the second one. Now there's kind of multiple lines of questioning that will continue like the story. So it's not, if you ask something that's, it usually not usually, it gives you some choices of things to ask. And sometimes 2 of those things might be in the right ballpark for the question that you're like trying to like move forward. So it's not always rigid where it's like you have to ask specifically about this. Now it can be, well, this one will trigger or this one will trigger it. And then there's that. The other thing that they do that is helpful as well is they don't give you as many options to travel around. It's not that they completely take it away, but at least as far as I've seen in the second game, they may not let you travel until you have gotten through the like kind of the story interrogation segment that you're on, or it will give you an option to, but the second place you can go to very clearly obvious is not where you're supposed to be.
Okay.
So it definitely is a lot smoother. I mean, I think I've gotten through like 5 or 6 chapters in the second game in like exponentially faster than the same amount of time it took me to get through a similar amount of content in the first game. It's because you're not just guessing around as much. I do still think the story from the first game much better. So I do really like the story from the first game, and even having played it through a second time, I was amazed. I could remember like some really big twists, but I couldn't remember a lot of the smaller twists. Which I say smaller, but it's mostly because the big twists are really fucking big, and these smaller twists are still important, but not as like life changing as some of the other ones. But still, it was kind of a nice surprise. I'm like, oh shit, did not remember this happening. There's a lot going on here, so I am really excited about. I did really like how that story progressed. I do like it a lot, and I think it's probably my favorite of the 2, despite the kind of gameplay annoyances occasionally. And once you kind of get an idea of what the game wants, it's not too hard to figure out. But there's like 2 or 3 moments that are just pretty obtuse, and you just kind of have to like, what is this looking for? I cannot get it. So there's that. So the second one definitely just doesn't seem to have that issue as much. Story is like I said, more predictable from what I can recall. I don't remember the twist from this one though. I kind of think I do, but I'm not positive enough. Not enough that I can go on and be like, oh yeah, I remember this for sure. But they both, like I said, they're both really good. So, but now we have the third one. So because I don't know if you saw my message, Nintendo did end up putting out a demo for this. So the demo that's out now, I believe the prologue in chapter one. I've played through the prologue and maybe like what I think is probably half of chapter one already since last night when it came out. And then in a couple days they're going to release the next chapter, and then a couple days they're going to release the next chapter. So it should be able to get a few chapters in before the game comes out. Progress does roll over into like the full release, so that's really nice. But at least as far as I've been able to see so far, it does play very similarly to the second one. It progresses still easily and just without a lot of guesswork, but it's still all I played so far is like the really early beginning of the game, so I can't speak too much on what is it like a little bit further down the road. But at least so far it seems pretty promising. I do kind of like the concept for this one, but it is, or I guess maybe the concept is in like the base of the story, but it is very kind of reminiscent of the second one. Without going like too much into like spoilers, what I would say is the case of the second game really is kind of a two-pronged story. There is this mystery about this urban legend, and then there is this mystery about this real life case. And the third game kind of so far is the same. There is a real life murder, and there is urban legend that seems like it may be related. So how much that says that I don't know, but that's at least kind of where it's kind of teed off the story there. Otherwise, though, the new one does play very well. It looks very nice. Obviously, it's built off of the engine that they built for the remakes, so that seems to work very well with it. It does have what seems to be maybe some nice quality of life improvements as well, just kind of moving around some stuff that was not always as apparent. Like they gave a button on the screen now for opening up your notebook. It was always accessible before, but sometimes it would get lost if you forgot about it, if you never used it like I did most of the time. So they have that. They what's the other thing that they did too that I was just going to say that I thought was very nice, aside from the fact that they did a demo, which I think is great. I never would have expected a demo for this game, but I think it's good that it's there. Hopefully it gives more people a chance to play it. What was it I was just going to say about this game? I lost it. It'll probably come back in like a little bit. I was just about to say something else too, and now I think I lost that as well.
Well, shit.
I know. I'm losing everything. I do remember one of the things I was going to say. So interestingly, this may be the closest Nintendo's ever been to like in-house making an M-rated game as well. Interestingly, so because Nintendo, I guess, has never put out an internally developed M-rated game. I guess I never really thought about it before because they've published enough. But this game, so what reason I say it's the closest, but it may not still have crossed that line. So obviously there's a lot of Nintendo involvement here. Like Sakamoto's been developing this. There's seemed to be some involvement with EAD, likely. But the question is how much the other studio's involvement is. It looks like the studio that helped with the remakes is involved with this. So, it's possible it's not fully M-rated, internally developed. But on the flip side, though, it does, I would say, probably more so internally developed by Nintendo than they've had previously. Just anecdotally, it sounded like from what I was able to read, maybe the second closest was Eternal Darkness, surprisingly, because it was a second party. And then there was like Miyamoto and Iwata's involvement there. But obviously Nintendo didn't have as much staff dedicated to it. And it seems like more is probably working on this. So let me see. Do I have anything else to say about the Famicom Detective Club games? I don't think so.
What I tried to say, and I don't know if you heard me, was what about Bayonetta? Wouldn't that be second party? Weren't they like really close with
I guess that's true. Well, I mean, it's Platinum Games. I don't think I think they're still technically third party. I don't think Nintendo owes any share of them. But on the flip side, though, they do own the IP, so there is that. But I also don't think they have any say really over Platinum. Like, I don't think Nintendo has like in-house staff working on that game.
All right, next question. Bayonetta
Yeah.
3, which was like straight up in-house staff actually worked on that with Platinum.
Which development group was working on it with Platinum?
I do not fucking remember, but I remember that Platinum, when they made Bayonetta 3, had some group that Nintendo helped them develop it with. At least that's what I thought I read in an interview at one point. Not 100% sure.
I don't know. That one, that might be. Maybe I just am not familiar with it. I didn't do like a deep dive and research myself. I only kind of saw what was just being posited there. So it's possible. Although just kind of looking at the
I think the interview. I think I misunderstood, or maybe the interview was mistranslated or something. I don't know, because I'm not seeing anything about it anymore when I do just like a quick search. So yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, it's always possible. And like I said, this is just at least anecdotally as what I had saw. So very possible it's not. But I also think even if Bayonetta is or is not, it's just so infrequent that Nintendo kind of wades into M-rated games. It's interesting to see, especially I think with Famicom Detective Club, because it's an M-rated, like basically interactive story kind of game kind of thing. So I feel like you almost have to kind of try to make those M-rated sometimes. So it's interesting. I've not seen anything that's like, oh, I can see why this is M-rated yet. So I'm interested to see what that is, because even the kind of death kind of thing that they had up there was not very graphic. It was I don't know, supposedly a dead person with a bag on their head. So not really anything there to be like, oh, this is really creepy. Like they showed more like corpses on the last two games than this one, and those were T-rated. So don't know.
I see.
So it'd be interesting to see just a little bit more. Like I said, I should actually have pretty good idea, because I think, like I said, the next chapter comes out, looks like, I think Thursday, and then a few days later, the third chapter comes out, I think next Monday again, and then the game officially comes out later in the week. So yeah, so it should be that. Do you have any other questions about this game?
No, not really.
No? Are you gonna try the demo?
I haven't tried it yet.
No,
I'll try it
if you're going to. Yeah.
I thought you said, "Are you going to enjoy the demo?" I was like, "I haven't tried it yet."
No. Yeah. As if you were going to try it. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
I figured you might, because you were keep asking about how this series is, so it's an easy way to kind of get in there and give it a try. So, and I would at least say, in terms of these games, they're fairly standalone. So it's not like you necessarily have to play the other ones. The first game is like the second game's a prequel to the first game anyway, so they're already in a wild order, but their cases are standalone and they don't seem to have much overlay. I guess you could pull out maybe a spoiler from the first game if you really wanted to, by playing the second game, but I think it's a stretch. Like, I think you'd have to be very, very keenly attuned to the story from both games to pull it out. I think if you were just watching it as just like the first game that you played out of the three, you would never know. And I think that's probably, at least as far as the third game goes, I've not seen anything that kind of necessarily would spoil the other games. It seems like maybe like there's been like a 2-year progression since technically the first game, because I think he was 17 in that game and now your character's 19 in this one. So they do have that. It does also too, it lets you roll over, because you get to name your like protagonist character. So when I booted it up, it was like, hey, do you want me to pull the name you used from the last game? And I was like, sure. It just does it. So it's pretty nice. Not really any monkeying around. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say for it. It does look like there are some more changes to this game and how it's played, but I just think I'm early enough that I just don't have any more to say on it. So stay tuned for next week. There'll probably be an update on it. So yeah, that's it. That's all I've been playing.
All right, let's hop over to me.
Okay.
So first I'm going to talk about the Final Fantasy XVI demo. And you may be saying, wait, that game's already released. Yeah, it did. But yesterday they announced it was coming to PC in 3 weeks, and they also released a demo immediately.
Oh, exciting.
So I got to play through it. And surprisingly, it runs incredibly well. Like, incredibly well. Um,
Well, that's good.
so here's the thing. One of the major issues with Final Fantasy 16, other than the fact that it was just boring because the combat's incredibly easy,
Mm-hmm.
is that it ran like dog shit on the PS5. It did. It just did. It was like 720p up-res to 4K, and you could absolutely fucking tell when you were trying to play in 60 FPS mode. And it wouldn't even maintain 60 FPS.
Okay.
So, PC version.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much locked 90 for me most of the time on the maxest of max settings at 1440p.
Uh-huh.
So, really, really good frame rate. It works really well. It looks really, really good, and it plays great. Granted, as I've talked with other people, it's not going to make it a good game,
I was going to
but
say, I'm like, it's not going to fix the issues you had with it,
it's
but
not
it
going to
still
fix
runs well.
my gameplay issues. I've heard that the DLC does that, but I don't know. It is currently in my family sharing library, so I may give it a go on PC when it officially releases in like 3 weeks. But currently, all I could say is that it works really well, it plays really well, and like they made a really good port, at least from the demo.
Okay.
So,
That's good.
and that's great because Square Enix is not very well known for making good ports.
No.
So
No,
we'll
they are
go
not.
to that. So yeah, cool, great. And I will be playing it in like 3 weeks. So a few little standout things about it. The cutscenes are still just video files, so they're locked at 30 FPS because
Okay.
just the video files from the PlayStation 5. So they actually look worse than the actual in-game gameplay when you go away from cutscenes, which is a little bit jarring, but it's like I would rather my game look better and my cutscenes look bad than the other way around.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there have been a lot of people reporting problems with this one, but I didn't have any issues whatsoever. So it was that. $50 for the base game and $70 for all of its DLC and the base game, which I think is pretty much the best way to handle this. So yeah.
Yeah. Not bad at all.
Now I want to move on to something because
Okay.
I'm gonna also tie this into a little piece of news.
Okay.
This is the second game I played, which is called Black Myth Wukong.
Oh, yeah. I know which game you're talking about.
This game released last night, and now that this game has released, and I'm gonna post this picture for you, Mike, because this is fucking wild. I'll post it in like general or something. Black Myth Wukong released and is the number 2 highest player count ever on PC for a video game.
Pretty impressive.
2.2 million in less than 24 hours. So it is the highest player count ever for a single player game on PC, which is fucking wild. So the question is it good? And yeah, it's really fucking good. It's a lot of people are saying it's a Souls-like, which it has Souls elements, like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, all that good jazz. But the elements are nowhere near as like punishing or as like bad as like a Souls game. And I don't mean bad as in they're bad. I just mean like people wouldn't be able to deal with them. You know what I'm saying? Like people would be like, "Oh God, I can't stand this shit." It's not like that, because when you kill enemies, yes, they will respawn, but they won't respawn until you rest at a. And it's not even resting. You pray at an altar essentially, and whenever you do that, that respawns everyone. But it also allows you to like purchase items and change your magic out and this, that, and the other. This game reminds me a lot more, and I'm being 100% serious, of like Ninja Gaiden Black, and it's really fucking good. Like, really good. First of all, it has one of the best openings, like fights that I've seen in a video game since something like Asura's Wrath.
Okay.
It is completely batshit insane. You hop on your cloud and fly into the clouds to take on the gods that want to destroy your home. Now, I don't fully understand Journey to the West and its mythology, so I'm going to definitely get some stuff wrong here. But essentially, you then take place in this battle that's in an arena where you're on top of a floating cloud, and like everything that you do has like volumetric fog. So as you're like fighting, you're like the clouds like plumes are like coming off and everything, and like there's fog from the cloud you're fighting on top of flying around everywhere, and in the background there's like these just hordes of enemies waiting for you to fight their commander, and if you defeat their commander, they're gonna fucking kill you, and if you don't defeat their commander, well, they're still gonna fucking kill you essentially. But it's like this huge battle arena that's on a cloud, and it's awesome, and there's like giant gods in the background watching over the fight, and it is just the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a video game in a really fucking long time, and it is so fucking cool. It is so cool. This whole game just has like the cool factor. Like everything in this game is just really, really cool. Like it's fun. It's difficult at times. It does have that like Ninja Gaiden feel to it, that sort of thing. Because where everything's like very difficult, but like the normal enemies that you fight to get to where you need to be, they're like nothing. They're literally like nothing. They don't really bother you at all. But when you get to the bosses will fucking hand you your ass for like an hour straight or some shit. It has that feeling, and it's great. It feels really good. It's definitely like essentially this game just has like this really cool factor to it. Everything about the game is super interesting, and it's just like absolutely ridiculous. You kill a boss, you can become a boss, or at least have some of their powers, and it's like an ability that you can use. So like for instance, I killed this one boss that had like a fire staff and everything, and then anything I fought in the future, I could just turn into that boss and fight as that boss instead. And it was like super cool. And then I killed this other one that had like snakes and whatnot, and I could use it to like cast his spirit, which allowed me to then have snakes that spawn around the enemy I'm fighting, and the snakes like shoot projectiles at it. And just outside of that element, right, and that like really cool element of the game, the graphics are probably the best I have ever seen this generation. It is insane how good it looks. It's one of those games that like you see it in motion, and like you see like a trailer for it, and you're like, yeah, so that's probably all CG, cutscene CG, that sort of thing. And then you actually play it, and you're like, holy fuck, how did they actually get the graphics to look just that good? And it's insane, honestly. It is the best, I think, game that I have ever, like, graphics wise, that I've ever played. Easily.
Okay. It's pretty nice statement to make.
It is just insane. Like I everything about it is it's sort of next level. Like this is an Unreal Engine 5 game that actually looks and plays like an Unreal Engine 5 game. Doesn't really give me any issues whatsoever. I'm gonna show you a video of it, by the way. I'm just gonna put it in the general.
Okay.
And graphics wise, the whole time you're playing it, it looks more like a cutscene when you're actually playing the game than it does like a game, essentially. But yeah, it is great. I've played like 3 hours, I think. Have I played 3? Yeah, I played 3 hours of it so far, and I've had really cool moments where it's been like I got turned into a cicada to scout ahead and whatnot, and like figure out where the enemy's going to be and yada yada yada, this, that, and the other. And just in general, I do think this is absolutely a chance at like game of the year territory. This shit is incredible.
Okay. I mean, it looks really nice in the video, from what I can see.
Yeah, check the second video. That's it running on max settings on PC. And it also shows that cloud fight I was telling you about, which is insane. You go to like the the 5-minute mark. It's crazy.
Okay. We'll pull it up.
You have really cool abilities also, like the ability to like freeze your enemies when fighting them, but it uses like mana or the equivalent of mana in this game.
Yeah, I saw it. It looked like you started out maybe with something like that in this battle.
Yeah, and then like you can also like essentially split yourself into multiple different characters, and they all attack at once.
Oh yes, I can see they're doing that now too. Yeah,
And just in general,
it is nice looking.
Mm-hmm. Just in general, this game has a lot of like Bayonetta and like Ninja Gaiden elements to it, more so than it does a Souls game.
Yeah, I
awesome.
can see that for sure. I was that was my first thought when I saw it. It looked very more like a Devil May Cry, like Bayonetta.
Yeah, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta. It's more like a character action game than it is a Souls game. Okay. It has Souls elements, but yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
This will be something we come back to later. I'll definitely have more to say about it when I played more than 3 hours. This is going to be like my next big finish the whole game. I've been doing that a lot this year, and this is going to be it. So yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, no soon enough. What else? What else you got? Anything else?
Nope, but I want to talk about some of the stuff that happened at Gamescom and some other stuff. So I think we can head on over to that now.
Yeah.
So, Gamescom was today, and there were quite a few things revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Hot off the presses of one of the biggest flops in cinema history, we got the reveal of Borderlands 4.
Oh, good.
So,
I was really concerned about the future of Borderlands.
Releases next year.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah.
Did they say anything else about it, or was that
they showed like a minute and 30-second trailer, and they were like, it was like the one where it like kind of flies through the space and the time, and the yada yada yada, and then just showed, Borderlands 4 2025, and that's it. So it wasn't really much of anything. We didn't see any characters really. We didn't see anything. We just kind of saw that, hey, this exists, and then yeah.
So TB, something to look forward to, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
We saw some Call of Duty new single player stuff. Don't really care that much, but it does look good.
Okay.
Moving on from that, Goat Sim is getting a remaster, which is very odd.
Right.
Right.
It's kind of odd. Why did they give any reason for it, or just because?
I guess.
Okay.
It says the enhanced edition will include not just a shiny new coat of paint and all of the laughable but not game-breaking bugs, but also all the DLC that made the original game, including the single DLC that was only on the mobile version that a lot of people didn't get to play. So, yeah. Techland is revealed a new Dying Light, so a sequel to Dying Light 1, I think, in the Dying Light 2 engine. So, yeah, there you go. And I think if you already have Dying Light 2, you get the game for free, is what they said. So that's neat.
That's pretty nice.
Another trailer for the new Dragon Ball Sparking Zero fighting game coming out October 11th. I don't know if you ever played Tenkaichi or know of Dragon Ball Tenkaichi that was on Wii and whatnot, but that game was very well loved, and essentially Sparking Zero looks like a sequel to that. So Tenkaichi 3 sequel. So Tenkaichi 4, whatever. Let me glance over a few of these things because they weren't really that interesting in my opinion.
Okay.
So apparently Nikki, the people that made Stellar Blade and make the mobile games, are making a new game that's called Infinity Nikki, and it's an open world game that goes for like a cozy kind of like Simish style instead. They opened up sign-ups for the closed beta of that. We were then shown Path of Exile 2 in early access, which will be launching in November. Space Marine 2 was got a new trailer, and then we saw a new game from the creators of Little Nightmares called Reanimal, which seems to be a new like horror adventure game from those people. And now for some of the bigger announcements. We got to see a trailer for Genshin Impact, and then it revealed that it is coming to Xbox. Genshin Impact's never been on Xbox, so that's coming to Xbox.
Pretty nice.
We'll come back to Xbox in just a little bit, because there's something here that people are mad about that Xbox did. Yeah, we got a new trailer for Monster Hunter Wilds, which still looks fantastic. They showed off Mai for Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. She looks great. She looks like Mai, and she has a new outfit that makes her look like a 30s mom, and she looks kind of cool. Uh, they showed off Monument Valley 3, which is exclusively a Netflix game. I don't care. They showed Mecha Break, which that game looks fucking insane. They showed the first ever gameplay trailer, and you'll probably be interested in this, of Civilization 7.
I did see that they had talked about it, so I was excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what changes they've done, because it sounds like they've made some pretty substantial ones just from what I was able to glance at today.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it looks like they're making it so now it's kind of broken up. What was it they were complaining about? They were like, the campaigns are too long, which
Mm-hmm.
is like, yeah, obviously that's what Civilization's known for, but it's interesting that they're taking the time to maybe address it. So it'll be interesting to see. They say they're breaking it up into kind of like 3 major sections now. Like, I don't remember what it was. Something like the age of antiquities, the age of exploration, and like the modern age or something. And that's, I don't know how those are all broken down or those kind of things, but it sounds interesting. I'm excited to see a little bit more of it. And they gave a release date too. It's coming out in February. So,
all right then. Then we got to see Starfield's new vehicle that they were adding, because they're adding vehicles to Starfield. And they showed it as well as the upcoming DLC expansion pack. And the vehicle releases tonight. So you'll be able to use vehicles in Starfield starting tonight.
Okay.
So that was interesting. Marvel Rivals, that game that's like Overwatch, but Marvel, that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
They announced 2 new characters today. Those characters being Captain America and Bucky, also known as Winter Soldier. So those 2 characters were announced and shown off. It was super fucking cool. They looked really fun to play. And then they also announced that the game will be releasing in December. And not only that, every character will be available for everyone that's playing free to play. You will not be charged for characters.
That's great.
So that's good. I actually think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And they also announced that it would be every character at launch as well as going forward. So every character will be available for free-to-play players to make sure that the game is fair and balanced for everybody. So you don't feel like you're getting dicked over if you haven't bought newest character number 3 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever. So that's not happening in Marvel Rivals, which is great. So it looks like they're just going to be selling like skins, which I think is the best way to do something like this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get to the interesting things.
Okay.
So this guy came out, and he was a guy who does projects for like Warhammer and Blizzard and Sony and this, that, and the other. And he was like, you guys, you ever see those like trailers, like those really nice trailers to like present a game either at the opening of the game or whatever, that are like much more cinematic and that sort of thing? And you thought to yourself, why don't they just make that into a TV show?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, we thought that too, because we've been working on them for like 20 years. So we figured, why don't we do that? He then announced a new series coming to Amazon in December, I believe is when it is, or it might be October. I don't remember what exactly. Yeah, December 10th. It is called Secret Level Zero. Secret Level Zero will take games that you know and do little mini episodes involving individual games using the original people that would make those cutscenes, but they'll make episodes that are based off individual games. So they showed things like Armored Core, they showed things like Warhammer 40K, they showed things like games from Blizzard, they showed things like God of War, and it's kind of like an anthology series, but like every episode's a different game and a different little side story, a different little more lore or background information about said game, but presented as a television show instead, using the original characters from that game, whatever that game may be. And they showed off a lot of different games that it could be, including Sifu, Mega Man, Armored Core, God of War, multiple Blizzard titles, other indie titles, and essentially it's the people that make those really cool trailers that you see making a TV show instead of just those really cool trailers.
Okay, that's pretty nice.
It looked really fucking interesting, and the guy who announced it seemed really like proud of what it was. And the trailer that we got for it looked really fucking cool. So I'm actually kind of excited for that one, to be honest.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
We then were shown Towerborn, the Xbox game that's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, I think it is, and it will be on Steam Early Access next month, with Game Pass coming very soon after, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
We were then shown Age of Mythology Retold, which releases next month as well, be on Game Pass day one. They showed off a little gameplay teaser of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which looked great. It comes out next year now. We then got to see Batman Arkham Shadow, which is the VR Batman game, which actually looked really fucking good, to be completely honest. A little upset it's only for Quest 3 and not my Quest 2. And I can't just like hook up my computer and play it on PC. But whatever, fuck it, I don't care. So we'll be ignoring that one. But it looked cool.
Okay.
Little Nightmares 3 was then shown its actual trailer with no release date. And then a man that everyone knows as one of the biggest liars in the industry,
Jeff Keighley,
decided to strut himself out. You're close. He was introduced by Jeff Keighley.
Kojima.
And his name is Peter Molyneux.
Oh, Jesus, I thought he was gone.
So did everyone else. He stated when he was being interviewed by Jeff Keighley on stage, he was like, so yeah, I went away from console gaming and PC gaming for a bit, and I made mobile games. I don't know what the hell I was thinking while doing that, but that's what I did, and that was a big mistake. But I wanted to get back to my roots, and I thought I couldn't be the only one to do so. So I got a lot of developers from individual games that worked with me in the past, and we came together to make this game. So I've got some of the devs from Fable and Black and White and other such games that I have created. And we are making a game called Masters of Albion. Masters of Albion looks like a game that kind of has like Civ elements where you like build up your town and this, that, and the other and whatnot, like and like go through different ages essentially, but also it has god game elements where you can literally interact very closely with the actual town, like making them food or poisoning people to change like the way the world interacts and like grows and whatnot. But you can also possess a character and fight with them, using them as your possessed character to fight the hordes that come after you at night. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a super neat idea. It's a very Peter Molyneux idea, which is why I don't believe that it's real.
Yeah, everything he makes is vaporware. That's a safe assumption. Or it won't live up to the expectations. Like if the bar's super high and he'll never make it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I would say if you have some time, take a look at it, because the easiest way I can describe it is it feels like a game that would be made if someone looked at a lot of the like trends and then made a game and used it as a game in a television show as a game that's not real. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like something just doesn't feel quite right about it, but whatever. We then were shown a mobile game of Squid Games, and by Netflix Games. Netflix Games was out here hardcore. I'm gonna skip over some things here because nothing really stood out there. Some Blizzard stuff. They showed a trailer for the Diablo release. We then saw the first Berserker of Kazan, I think is what it is. It appears to be a game from NetEase that's a Souls-like, but it also is an RPG, which is fine because they normally are, but it seems to be free to play, so I don't really trust it. But I'll move on to the two major announcements because I don't really care about any of the rest of the stuff, to be honest. Indiana Jones was announced with a new trailer. Showed off some mocap with Troy Baker, showed off some gameplay, showed off some of the world, some of the voice acting, this, that, and the other. It was really neat. It was actually a pretty good trailer, and it made the game look very good, to be completely honest. And then we got given a release date of December 9th, 2024. And then we got given a release date of spring 2025. And then what materialized below it was the words PlayStation 5. It is no longer an Xbox exclusive. Before the game even releases, it stopped being exclusive.
Yeah, I did see that. That's pretty
And
wild.
that is actually kind of crazy, and it made me laugh. Like, damn, Xbox is giving their games to people now before they even release.
Yeah, they must have. I mean, obviously, they're really changing their kind of how they're operating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they're still giving themselves like a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
But damn, like give yourself a little time. I'm surprised they're announcing it before it's already out. Even a lot of companies who inevitably do it don't do that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. Like, I don't understand what they're doing. What did they think they're doing here?
Nobody knows. But it'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the game looks good though. It's looked good since before. I'm a bit biased because I know some of the people that work at Machine Games, but yeah. I think it still looks good, and I like games like Wolfenstein. I didn't like Wolfenstein 2. I already mentioned that multiple times, but I liked the first two Wolfenstein remakes. I liked what was the other game they made? Mad Max. I think they make pretty good games, so whatever.
Yeah.
And then we got the last announcement.
Okay.
Which was a new Mafia game, from the series Mafia, that will explain the inception of the Mafia. Okay. So it is a origin story of the Mafia as a video game.
Like the real Mafia? Like kind of like, yes. Is it supposed to be like historically kind of relevant?
So some of the Mafia games that we've had in the past have always had some like ties to historical things, but they've had their own story, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing here. Like, you're going to have your own characters, but it'll be in the age of the Mafia being started, and one of your characters will be in the original group that started the Mafia for the first time ever. And it's in like Italy or Sicily, I think is what it is. Oh God, I don't know all the lore, I'm going to be honest.
But, I mean, Sicily is Italy, so it's not like it's...
Yeah. So yeah, that's no release date, but it's called Mafia: The Old Country.
Okay.
It seems like a really neat idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, that does sound like an interesting place to do it. Interestingly, I guess, fun fact, my like great grandfather, he was in the Mafia, and he was from Sicily, so
that's cool. Good. I mean, probably not actually, but that's cool.
What do you mean, not actually? Which part?
Oh, you mean he probably killed people? That's what I'm saying. Probably not cool that he did that, but
I would assume so. I've never met him. He was gone long before I was born, but yeah, it would make sense. So, and my great grandfather, I believe, he was probably assassinated as part of like a mob thing in Sicily. So, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. They're like, don't know, but apparently he was out like watching, I think it was sheep or something, and had like an axe in his head. So they think it was the Mafia. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that does sound like it's a pretty interesting concept, and definitely a different way to take things that really hasn't been done before. So, well, until Ubisoft recycles it for Assassin's Creed Mafia Italy.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's what's coming next.
Son of a bitch, you aren't even wrong.
Also interesting, like kind of you remind me of this story too. I thought it was funny because with like the Borderlands thing, with how that game has been reviewing, with the Borderlands movie. Uwe Boll came out of the Nethers and was like,
"Oh my God, yeah!" He was like, "Yeah, I remember." Okay, yeah, go on.
He's like, "I'm not so bad anymore, am I?" He's like, I bet you wish I made this.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we don't. Do not.
I'm going to be honest, I do. I do. So here's the thing. I've seen some clips because the movie's already online. All right, the Borderlands movie's already online. Let's be honest. I've seen some moments of the Borderlands movie, and it is so fucking obvious that it was rated R, and they cut out like 50 to 60% of the movie that it isn't even funny. At least if Uwe Boll made it, he would have kept it rated R. That's my takeaway. You know.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been corporate mouthpieces saying, no, it needs to be PG-13, and he'd be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, that would have been Uwe Boll, 100%. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I kind of do wish he made this movie. Because, like, there's definitely glimpses from the clips and things I've seen of things that would have made this a better movie. They're just not here.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of time how those things go. So they just don't want to put the time or the effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. What else? What else do we talk about? Anything?
I don't really have much else to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I do either. There's about my big things. So, and we had all the news, at least as far as I saw. I don't think there's anything else. We talked about the Indiana Jones thing. And I feel like with Gamescom, I don't remember even seeing any like other big news recently. Indiana. Civ, we talked about. Yeah, I think that's all I got. You ready to wrap up then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com, or you can check out all of our old episodes on game-crunch.com. Brandon.
Hello.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, not really. I've got nothing else to say. I just think I want to play more Myth Wukong, which I'm probably about to go do.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess that's it. My name is Mike Anastasia. You can find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin there, or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Game on.
Down by the beach, waves crashing in. Found a portal, let the games begin. Magic realm with pixel dreams. Game Crunch coming, it's more than it seems. Game on, we shout so bold. Game on, this world's gold. Surfing pixels, riding high. Game on, play until we touch the sky. Sunset glowing, our spirits free, questing hard through the virtual sea. Treasures found and battles won. Game Crunch is magic fun's just begun. Game on, we shout so bold. Game on, this world's gold. Surfing pixels, riding high. Game on, play until we touch the sky. Sunset glowing, our spirits free, questing hard through the virtual sea. Treasures found in battles won. Game Crunch is magic fun's just begun. Game on, we shout so bold. Game on, this world's gold. Surfing pixels, riding high. Game on, play until we touch the sky. Ride in the waves of code each day. Surf and spin in endless play. Mountains tall and forests deep. Game Crunch secrets we will keep.
wanted to talk about Silent Hill 2, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be its own like whole thing because I've got a lot to say about that.
Okay. It's not out yet, is it?
Nope.
Okay.
But there was a 45-minute video that was put out of gameplay.
I was just wondering, what had been new.
45 minutes of gameplay. This is your homework. Go watch that, and then we'll talk about it next week. Just watch little bits of it, even just skim through it, and then we'll talk about it next week.
That seems reasonable. I think I can manage that.
I'm gonna sit down and watch the whole thing because, like, I really like Silent Hill 2, and I have some thoughts on the remake. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there was. I feel like I maybe saw like a new-ish video of something exciting recently, gaming-wise.
Yeah, so people got to play the first 3 hours of Silent Hill 2 remake, and there's a bunch of videos online now of different people that played it because they got to put up their pieces of their gameplay footage. So
okay, so just what they had available. Okay.
But I think, like, when I watch it, right, for instance, there's some very different feelings I have depending on who's playing it, which feels really weird to me, because, like, I've seen things where, like, people fought Pyramid Head with, like, a fucking shotgun or a pistol, and I'm just like, this just looks like Resident Evil 4 remake all over again. But then I've also seen where they have, like, only, like, a wood plank and fight him, and it's kind of, like, tense, because like you can't really see much, but if you have like the gun with the flashlight on it and that sort of thing, then you could like see the whole room, and the whole room's just like a room full of boxes that he just kind of stumbles into while you're fighting him, and that just kind of looks really lame. But if you have like the lower vision and you have to like hit him with the wood plank and whatnot, it just feels like you're stumbling through a room in pitch blackness. And even though the room is actually lame if you could see what it looks like, since you can't, because you only have that halo of light that from the little bit of flashlight you have instead, it actually kind of looks cool. And it's really weird to me that, like, depending on how you play it, the game seems different in a way that, like, very much so, in a way, like, disrespects the source material, but not at the same time. And I don't really know how I feel about it. And I got a lot of, like, thoughts because of that. Because, like, the reason why there is a fight with Pyramid Head is because it's, like, a new fight. And it's like, okay, well, it's a new fight, but, like, Pyramid Head has a very specific reason for existing in Silent Hill 2, and there's a reason why he's there, and there's I don't know how much Silent Hill 2 you've ever played, but like
we talked about it a bit last week. I think I remember you were talking about your issues with the story and the changes that they had made to some of like the designs, because they don't make them as relevant to the story as they had been.
Correct, and they actually have addressed that somewhat in the newest trailer that I saw. So, like, the story now lines up. It now works. It now actually kind of looks great. The story trailer does. But then you see some of the gameplay, and it's very different depending on who you see as to if the game is faithful to the original adaptation, depending on who's playing it, which I think is really weird, because I think maybe they shouldn't be allowed to get those weapons. Like, you're not a god with a gun. You're not a god with a shotgun. You're just some dude. So being able to, like, you know, pull off shotgun shots on a big fucking otherworldly creature with a flashlight shined on it looks very, like, not Silent Hill. But if you're fighting it with, like, a plank of wood because you didn't get the shotgun or whatever, it looks very Silent Hill. So, like, depending on how good at the game you are, it feels less of a Silent Hill game. And it's really weird, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Like, I just think the option for the shotgun and the pistol and whatnot shouldn't be there. Like, that should be the end. Like, because one of the, like, major portions at the end of the game is, like, you fight with actual guns because you no longer feel helpless because you've kind of overcome everything and you've learned what you've done that you blocked out and you've come to terms with it and whatnot. And then Pyramid Head doesn't give you that satisfaction of actually fighting him with a gun. Instead, he kills himself to, like, even like make it so you don't get that satisfaction, that ending that you want. He doesn't let you have that because you still did something that's fucking terrible. So you shouldn't be able to, move on from that. So in order to not allow you to, it doesn't give you closure. And that's like a big part of the whole game. So like being able to, from the beginning, to actually shoot and fight Pyramid Head feels really weird to me. It doesn't feel right. And seeing like gameplay with people shooting Pyramid Head just doesn't work for me.
Do you think they're doing like a story bit for that at all, or no?
I don't know, man. It's this game's so weird that moments when I see like some of the cutscenes, I'm like, wow, that's like perfect. That's like 1-to-1. When I see like the opening, I'm like, that's like perfect. That's like 1-to-1. That's great. But then I see the gameplay and it feels like it's just not the same. It feels like it's disconnected from the game. You know what I'm saying? And they like even had like an interview. And if you want, you can put some of this into the podcast, because I would like to have this be its own episode at some point, because I feel very strongly about Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite horror games of all time, because I think it's so well made and so well done and yada 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 blah blah blah. But I also think like the themes of it and all of that is like very important, and that's what makes Silent Hill, for lack of a better word. Like, for lack of a better term, that's what makes Silent Hill is having those themes. And when you have the gameplay interrupt those themes, I feel like you're missing the point. But then when you put the actual cutscenes still having those themes, you clearly understand it. Are you just ignoring it because you don't care, or do you just not fully understand what you're doing and you're just copying what you see? Like, that's what I don't get. I don't know what they're doing because I haven't been able to see the whole picture, so to speak, right? And at times when I'm able to see like little glimpses, I'm like, okay, this actually looks really fucking good. Like, this could be really, really good. But then at other times when I see it, I'm like, you've missed the entire plot. You just don't get it. Like, for instance, they're talking about in an interview about the fog and how, disorienting and yada 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 the fog is for James and the game and whatnot, and how it's supposed to confuse him, and it's like, you don't get it because you start out with a lot of fog, and that is not what the fog is. The fog signifies the fucking creeping like fear on James himself. So you start out with a little fog, like in the original game, and it slowly encapsulates the entire city in nothing but unseeable fog, which is something that built up in the original Silent Hill 2. It started just somewhat foggy, but as you went throughout the game, it got thicker and thicker and more to just kind of really bring home that feeling of anxiety and not understanding your surroundings and getting lost and having that like coincide with the actual plot of the game itself as well, where he's becoming more and more confused until he finally does realize what's going on and what is happening. And then that's when, the whole thing ends, essentially. The fog's gone, this is that's over, all this stuff and whatnot, and we move on, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But starting with a thick, like, disorienting fog means you kind of miss that entire element of where it's supposed to grow and creep in over time throughout the actual gameplay session, not start out like fucking pea soup at the beginning of it. Yeah. I think that's a problem that they have. Like, they've missed those subtle differences. And I don't know if they're missing those subtle differences because they just don't understand, or because they don't care and they're just copying everything 1-to-1, attempting to do this, but missing the subtlety of it all and just bringing their own interpretation of it in there, which does not work for this game. Because, like I said, with the whole fucking outfits and whatnot, like, they're supposed to be sexy. They're supposed to be weird because of his own like perversion and this, that, and the other and whatnot, and it's supposed to be make you feel uncomfortable. That is the fucking point, because of his own sexual desires and because of this, that, and the other and the shit that he has done and whatnot.
that is supposed to be what happens. You are supposed to feel weird about that. It is not there just to ogle the person. It's there to actually coincide with James's own like psyche, essentially, that sort of thing. A lot like you've played Shattered Memories, you know, and Shattered Memories kind of does like a psyche evaluation of you at the beginning, and things change in the game depending on what you say, essentially. And it's the same thing in Until Dawn. Those two games do that and then like build off of what your answers were. But this game, instead of doing that and asking you questions, they already take into account what James's story is and build the world based off of that. But they're like subtle differences in the remake that seem to be missing the finer details that are actually very important, and as such makes it feel like they're just copying someone's homework and not understanding what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds like it. My guess would be they're probably like, as they're going through and doing this, they're probably like, oh man, this would be so cool, but not really thinking about like why they're making the changes. They're just making changes to make changes. Because they're like, oh, it'd be cool. Or maybe they're like, oh, you know, this wouldn't fly in today's day and age. But again, not really thinking about, you know, why it was there in the first place, and just kind of making changes to just, you know, because they think it would be cool or fit whatever vision they have for it instead of the original vision. That's what I would think, at least. It sounds like it's a mess. It would be interesting. I almost think, though, you know,
it sucks though, because like I like look at it and I'm like, there's something here. And I'm not sure if there's like some details that are very fine details that they get, but then there's others that actually, you know, affect the story and affect the like lore of the game that they don't understand. And it's just annoying.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Because like I get excited one trailer I see, and then the next trailer I see, I'm like, God damn it, they just don't get it. And it's like I've been having that back and forth for like the longest time now for this game. Like, you know, they had the trailer initially where it revealed, and I was like, all right, this is cool, this is awesome and everything, but something felt slightly off. Then we got the trailer where it had gameplay, and man's just running through corridors, shotgunning and shooting things, and essentially it feels like Resident Evil 4 more than it did Silent Hill. And I'm just like, man, they just don't get it. And then we had this new trailer where it came out where it's got his perfect idea of what his wife would have been talking to him. And when she's talking to him, like the dialogue and the presentation and all of this and the like cut in scenes and whatnot of the game is very, very well done. And it looks awesome. And it seems like they get it. And I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah, that's so cool. And then I see the video that's put up by PlayStation showing off him just running around in circles in a room shooting at Pyramid Head with a pistol in a new boss battle that they've introduced where you fight Pyramid Head. And I'm just like, you don't get it. You're not supposed to fight Pyramid Head. He's supposed to be something that confuses you. He's supposed to be something that frightens you. You aren't supposed to fight him. You're supposed to be scared of him. You're supposed to leave. You're supposed to have encounters, and you're supposed to have very minor encounters with him here and there leading up to the very ending where you think you're finally going to have your ending encounter, and then he takes that away from you. And that's what you're supposed to do. That's what Pyramid Head is supposed to be. But like, you guys are like using him like a generic boss battle, and that's not him. That's not what you're supposed to do. That's not his being. That's not the reason he's there. How do you not get this?
Clearly, Brandon, everyone wants to just fight Pyramid Head.
I mean, I guess, but like, oh man, it's just so frustrating because like I really like this series. And I've done like deep dives into like all of like Silent Hill and whatnot. So like I understand the other more subtle things about it because I've actually done research and I've actually wanted to know more about the games and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And they're the ones making the game. And that's like, what the fuck? Why?
Yeah, and, you know, like I said, it probably had to have been something where they're like, oh, let's, you know, they're sitting in some boardroom and they're like, oh man, it'd be so cool if we had, you know, Pyramid Head or, you know, whatever. Well, like, we should do a real battle for this because we don't have, you know, people will be so jazzed. They'll be like, oh my god, I never got to fight Pyramid Head before. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting. Although I wonder though if it's it probably. I mean, I think it's interesting discussion. I don't know how easy it would be to do until the game comes out, though. I feel like it'd be, until you see the context for it. I feel like there's always a possibility that it could be.
And you're right.
Better.
You're 100% right, and that might be a problem with the way this game is being presented. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then that is still an issue. That's still an issue because you turn people like myself off from wanting to play your game because you're presenting it in a way where it just looks like, oh, neato, I get to fight Pyramid Head a lot of times. Like he's like the fucking like Mr. Big from like Resident Evil 2 remake where he pops up, he's like, raw, I'm a big man, fucking shoot me a few times, raw, I left him, bye. That sort of shit. Like, it seems like he's being presented like that, and that's not Pyramid Head, and that really sucks. So me sitting here, I'm having this conversation with you right now about how I feel about the game because of the way that the game has been presented thus far, so maybe they should have presented it better if that isn't what they're going for,
100%. Makes sense to me.
I want this game to be good, right? I do. But every single step of the way, I see something where I'm like, yeah! And then the next thing I see, I'm like, no! And it's like, yeah!
Thinking.
What the fuck, guys? Oh, shit, yeah, that's awesome! And then it's like, no, you... Fuck. And it's like, I'm having that, like, I'm literally having, like, whiplash in between every single new trailer or bit of gameplay that's presented for this game, where I'm like, I'm excited. I can't fucking stand this. I'm excited. What the fuck were you thinking? I'm excited. Oh my God, you just don't get it. And it's like, I'm having that back and forth leading up to the release of your game. And as such, I don't care to buy your game. I'm just waiting to see what happens. And if that is the way I am, someone that actually really, really likes Silent Hill 2, imagine what other people are like that feel the same way. Like there's probably like tons and tons and tons and tons of people that feel the exact same way as myself, who are like, no, because like, Silent Hill is a very niche title. And it hasn't really gotten that many releases. And Silent Hill 2 is beloved as one of the best survival horror games ever made. And I mean, you got a lot to live up to. And there are some people that are looking at it on just, like a very surface level. And they're like, hell yeah, gun go burr. It looks cool. Yay, big fight. Yay. And then there's some people like myself who are looking at it more in depth. That's like, what are you doing, guys? What the fuck are you doing? And it's painful because I want this to succeed because I want Silent Hill to do well. I think Silent Hill is a great franchise, but if they don't get it, I don't want this to succeed. Does that make sense? Because I don't want that franchise that I loved to be watered down, and made modernized to the point where like it just comes down to a gun shoot go burr. There's a lot more nuance in this game than just spooky, scary monsters, because technically none of these monsters exist. Mm-hmm. And because of that, like, I don't know, man. It just feels like they don't quite understand the psychological portion of the psychological horror game, and that's what's upsetting me.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, especially like I said, it's a remake. It's a game you're already familiar with. The one thing that this was a new Silent Hill game, and they were doing something different with it. But like I said, they've already established a lot of these things, so it doesn't make sense for them to go through and just be like, nah, we don't want to do that anymore.
But it goes beyond just not wanting to do that anymore. I feel like quite literally, they just don't get it. Like that might actually be what's going on. Like they don't get it. Like they just see it as a horror game, like, a slasher, thriller, monster kind of game, and they don't actually get the psychological portion of this psychological horror game, which is really fucking sucks if so, because like I said, the last thing I want Silent Hill to be boiled down to is just another Resident Evil clone, because it's not. It is very much not. And I feel like the people that are making it see it as that, and that kind of sucks.
I agree. So hopefully once we know more, when is the release date for this? It's early next year,
October.
Right?
No, it's in a month. It's in a month.
very soon.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
guess
why I'm
we'll
even
know
more
more
worried. I'm
soon.
like, oh fuck, man, what do I do? Shit.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? But yeah, at least we'll know soon, though. There won't be a lot of, there should be a lot more coming out about it shortly, if not already, with Gamescom, I would think. So hopefully it's good, whatever the news is.
Yeah, I mean, we also got the Tokyo Game Show, which is probably where it's more likely to be, which is in like another week, I believe. Because Tokyo Game Show is Japan and Konami is located in Japan, so
Yeah,
they would probably be there, right? Let me see when the Tokyo Game Show is exactly. 2024.
it should be coming up very soon.
It is September 28th. No, September 26th.
Okay. Yeah, so very soon. I say usually Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show are not terribly far apart. I remember that.
They're essentially a month away, like between each other. So next month, and then a few days after that, a few weeks after that, is the actual release of the game. So, because I believe the 25th is the release of Silent Hill 2. Yeah, I'm gonna double check. Silent Hill 2. It is August. Oh my God, it's October 8th. It is not even. It will be like days after Tokyo Game Show.
Okay, so very soon.
Oh wait, it's not even October 8th. It's October 6th.
Even sooner. Perfect.
Because they have a digital deluxe edition which gives you the game 2 days early.
Okay.
So October 6th official release. But if you only buy the base edition, October 8th. So even so, very, very soon. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be good. Maybe I'm just being a stickler. Maybe they do actually get it, and it's just like they're just trying to present it for the crowd that likes, spooky horror games instead of the crowd that likes Silent Hill. Who knows? And even if like they actually just make it into like a normal horror game, the gameplay itself and the game itself could still be really good. It would just be missing a lot of what made Silent Hill if they did that. And I, as an old fan, would be upset. But it doesn't make it a bad game. It would just make it, as people like to say, a bad game for that franchise. Which is just how I feel about Final Fantasy XVI. It's not a bad game. It's just a bad Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, which is, again, similar kind of thing. Absolutely.
Again, this entire rant probably should have been in the actual podcast. I'm sorry.
I'm still recording, so it's easy. I can just make it a nice after the credits thing like usual. So
that works.
Not a problem.
Oh, there you go. There's another like 20 minutes of me complaining about something that I really like. So there you go.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Always good. So, I don't know. Anything else? You
no, I think that is it. But thanks for listening to me rant about Silent Hill 2. I love that fucking game.
Yeah, hopefully it ends up being decent. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm worried it won't, but I hope it will.
What's the worst that could happen?
The worst that could happen, honestly, and I will tell you how I feel. The worst that could happen would be it gets reviewed incredibly well, right? And it is a really good game, but it's a really good game that doesn't understand those things I just explained.
Yeah,
so it makes Silent Hill 2 a much less like introspective game that like actually understands the psychological portion of psychological horror and more like a bang bang shoot 'em up Resident Evil clone. That's the worst thing that could actually happen to Silent Hill in my opinion.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Dumbing it down.
Resident Evil.
Dumbing it down.
Yeah.
That would be the worst.
And I think that's what everyone was afraid of with Shattered Memories and never even ended up being a thing.
God, Shattered Memories was so good.
That's a game that could use a nice remaster.
Yeah. But I think a lot of Shattered Memories that, in my opinion, makes it so good is the way, on the Wii at least, it used every single bit of tech for that game perfectly to, like, kind of add to the horror factor of it. Because you played it on Wii, right?
Yes. I think that's all it came out on, didn't it?
No, also on PS2. It's on PS2, and it was released for a very short amount of time to the point where the PS2 copy is like $600.
Okay.
It's insane, the price for that game on PS2 right now. Yeah, that game on Wii was awesome because you actually picked up the Wiimote and used it like a phone and everything, and it really got you involved in the horror aspects of it, and I fucking love that, especially with like all the sounds that would come out of your Wiimote while you were playing.
Yeah.
That would try to mimic like the enemies being behind you. Dude, that was such a genius game.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was a nice game.
It's one of my favorites. Like Silent Hill 2 is my favorite, and then it's probably Shattered Memories, and then 3, and then 4.
Yeah,
one is last. It's simple as that. 1 is good, but 1 is very, very rudimentary. It's
kind of
like
one of those. It's an important game, but not necessarily
Yes.
a good game kind of thing.
Yeah, if you wanted to remake a game, remake 1. If they remade 1, I think that would be a better choice.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, well, I guess that's really what Shattered Memories was supposed to be, anyways.
Yeah, true.
A pseudo remake of 1, or retelling, maybe the better way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wukong has now sold 4.5 million copies.
Oh, good for them. That's really
That's insane. And that's without an Xbox version being released yet.
not at all. Well, when's the Xbox one supposed to come out?
No announcement because they couldn't get it running on Series S. Much like what happened with Baldur's Gate.
Ah, well,
Yep.
that's dumb.
Yep. So probably by the end of the year, to be
Okay.
honest.